All right. So I would personally, if I were you, just as a quick challenge to you, I would pause this. Well, not don't pause it now. Pause it after I finish my sentence. But I would just try and figure out if you can make a modal of your own, right? Um, Things that you're going to need to make your modal. I'll write these down. You can pause it and just have a look. Modal will take props, and those props will be one will be whether it's open, and then an on close function, right? So that you have something that you can do to close the function. And again, what that's going to be is going to be this set open thing. So we're going to be passing that into our modal. After that, we're going to basically just display some stuff. So that's really kind of the main thing we need to be looking at here and figuring out. And yeah, we're gonna roll with that for now. Just see if you can make a modal that has a pop-up based on whether or not it's open, and see if you can't get that in front of the screen. So pause the video and just kind of mess around with that a little bit. It doesn't have to be very nice. It doesn't have to be great looking, but just kind of see if you can get the props part figured out. Where if props is open, then nothing gets returned, and otherwise then we get some HTML returns. So go ahead and pause the video and do that. Now, for those who don't want to do that, or if you've already done that, great, we're going to go ahead and make our modal together. And so let's go ahead and do this, or maybe you've already tried it and you want to see, you said, wow, that was really frustrating. I should have said set like a 30-minute timer, but that's okay. Great. I got a modal here and tab this forward. And we're going to start out here with, what I have in here? Oh, just the div. Great. And actually, the first thing I'm going to do here, before we even have this, this needs to be tabbed. No. Before we have this, we're going to say if bang props dot open. We'll get to what that looks like in a second. Return, then return null. And so this is just going to be a really quick way to say if the props are not open, then just don't do anything, right? We don't need to render this. We don't need the browser to actually be concerned with any of what's going on here. The browser will just instantly render this as soon as we actually click on that modal. It should be pretty straightforward. We are going to need some props here. So we'll have props. Where does that come from? This is an interface. We have to actually create that type for ourselves. That's probably what got you confused with our props. Type props equals open, which is a Boolean, and on close, which is a callback function that doesn't return anything, right? That's all we got there. So we're going to import our button here from button. And that should be most of what we need to. Eventually, we're going to add a contact form, but we will see what that looks like later because that's going to be generated someplace else. We actually have a component inside a component because, again, our modal is inside. A button is in our modal, is in our data table, is in our dashboard, which is a lot. But that's part of just keeping organized and thinking through what's going to go where and what's going to be a component and where you're going to put it. If you had a really big app, I would say like each page would maybe get its own folder. Which would have its own pages and components. And you'd have another one that is like shared components, right? Like if you've got components that get used between multiple things or whatever. I don't know. It kind of depends on you. You can arrange this a little differently depending on how you want to do it. But we're going to go ahead and do some styling here. So one of the other things that can be a little bit tricky is this on click thing. And we're going to do here, do on click. We're actually going to see a really cool JavaScript built in on close. And then class name. I'm going to set this equal to, and I can't read it right now. Oh, that's a long one. That's a really long one. Zoinks. We're going to have fixed, width full, height full, flex, overflow, auto, And that will just set our overflow for if there's more content that we need or that we can fit on our screen. Z1 to put it kind of in front of things, justify, center, align, middle, BG gray 300, BG opacity. I'm gonna set this to 25, so that's gonna change what the background opacity is, and I believe that's everything here. Yep. And so we should actually already, well, no, we need to actually set our modal in our data table. So let's go back here real quick. Actually build our modal here. So this is going to be, instead of this thing here, we're going to say modal and put that there. I don't need that actually. I need to do that. And so we'll have open equals open. And we have our on close, and now we'll be happy there. And we're going to pass in an anonymous function that ends up running handle close. And that should be all that we really need there. So what we're going to be able to use now is this function here, which won't run because again, if we had just had handle close like this, then it would run as soon as the code got here, right? And the type needs to be a callback that doesn't return anything. Which is what we established inside of our modal, which is great. So we have that now. We should actually be able to get some functionality out of this at this point, now that I'm thinking about it. Oh, did we ever? Oh, we never actually set. So it's somewhere around here. It might just be like below the page or something. Or we're still working on it. We're still working on it. We got to actually. Oh, because there's no data here. Duh. Yeet. And let's try that. There we go. Hi. So there's actually something here. Good. That means we're on the right track. And so I'm going to go back here and carry on. We're going to actually set up an on-click thing here that stops propagation. And that actually basically just prevents the click from submitting things when we click on it, which is kind of important, as we will see soon enough. On click. We're going to take an event, and we're going to stop propagation. Because again, when we click on a button, right, that button will usually automatically try to. It has some default behavior, and if it thinks it's a submit button, then it's going to try and refresh the page. We might not actually want that, right? And so in this case, we don't want it to refresh the page, and we don't want it to pass that data down, where if we click on any other buttons, then it's going to close things. So we're going to keep that here. And this stop propagation essentially it's what's called event bubbling, where if you have like a parent component that has some function about it, right? You have a div where if you click on it, it turns the text blue, right? And then you have a button to submit some information inside of that div that has an on-click event on that parent div. The stop propagation thing prevents that main functionality of turning the text blue from occurring when you click on the submit data button, right? Because you would want to actually submit the data in that case. And so this is part of how you prevent, basically like, this is how you allow nested buttons and nested functionality inside of things. Really good if you're getting into gaming or other things that have a lot of frequent UI changes where it like looks different, or there's things inside of things you might want to interact differently than the parent. And so that's what this is going to end up doing here, which is really nifty. We're not done with attributes of this yet, though. So we're going to do class name equals, and I need to make sure I can see here. Yep, that's good. Do max width is going to be 600 px. Width is going to be 2/5. And again, this is going to be 40%, right? So that's how you would set something to be with 40%. I'm going to say fixed. I'm going to do flex, Z1. Margin top will be 20. Background will be white. Shadow on an Excel screen, and we want this to be rounded. And so we should be looking back over here, and there that is. You can see that I moved down a little bit. Now it says yeet down there, and it has a nice white background. We have some other stuff we need to take care of there, but so that's better. And then we're going to actually, sorry, you need to go we're going to yeet the yeet. So we're going to have div.w-full.flex.flex-call. And inside of this one, we're going to have div.flex-flex-row or dot space dash apart. This needs to be a period there. No. There we go. Cool. So we'll have that there, and we're gonna have a p tag here. And this is just gonna be the letter X. If we wanted to later on, we could go and get a nice font awesome icon. But we're not gonna do that right now. So the class name equals flex justify start margin -3 and background slate 300, padding 2, and we need to have some other attributes here still. I'll put this on a new line. Cool. Padding 2. We're gonna have it be rounded, and we're gonna have hover background slate 800. Text white. And we're also going to add on click, and we're going to have props.on close, because it's a little X, right? We want to say if you click on the X, then the rest of this will go away. And now when we hover on it, we got that, and so there you go. Now it's that. I suppose, honestly, I actually don't like that much. Let's go ahead and make this into a button. And make this be our closing button. Since we went to all that work of making it into a button, and now the nice thing about this is that because it's a button, it changes our little mouse into a click thing. And so I think that looks a lot better than using the little eye thing. It's just not good for normal life, other than if you're typing. So there you go. Great, so we got that now. And I have an empty fragment in the middle of here, and I don't remember why I did that. So we're gonna find out later. Right now, we're gonna keep moving along, and I'm gonna say div, if you just do, by the way, what I did there was just a div dot, and that will just automatically put the class name thing in without putting any classes in. Really nifty trick for shorthand. Because we're about speed here, not accuracy. Just kidding. Just kidding. All right, got flex, call. We'd like to move fast, but we'd rather it works. Center, text, center, mt3, p-2. And inside of this, we're going to put something called our contact form. But this doesn't exist yet, so we're going to say this is where the contact form will go. Great, and that is our modal, right? So eventually we're gonna come back here, we're gonna actually put our contact form in. We haven't made our contact form yet. It actually is pretty much our next step. And then we got our export default function modal. Just a reminder too, there's multiple ways of writing this. So if you're confused about certain things, like some people will write theirs with the arrow function, we're just gonna have, const modal, equals like this, and then you say, wow, that's cool, but now our stuff is mad because it can't actually get it. It says there has no export default, right? And so again, TypeScript will tell you that there's a problem instead of pretending things are fine. So what we would just do down here is just export default modal, just like that, and then everybody's happy, and it's going to access the modal again, and we can see what kind of props it takes. It takes a props thing and returns a JSX element. Great, marvelous, and great. Right. So 15 minutes. How long will contact form take? Oh goodness, this is a long one. All right, cool. So we're doing about one component per video, about once every 15 minutes. So we're just kind of grooving along. We are not quite done with enough of our data table to actually have functionality, but if we come back over here, just have a look at things and see what's going on. This is where the contact form will go, and so you can either click on it to do that, or click on this one, which is not supposed to say greetings. One more thing we gotta fix here. Rather than greetings, we're going to do handle open, and that's what we want here. So you'll be able to come back here, refresh the page. And both for contact, we're going to want this to pop up so we can edit it, or update one that to show up so we can edit it. And I'm going to reset this back to false because we don't actually want that to show up immediately when we load the page, right? We want to be able to look at the data first and then decide if we want to create new data or update the data that exists, right? So seems pretty good to me. And I'll see you in the next lecture for building our contact form, which is where we'll actually be able to put information in here. And then once we're done with that, we're going to build our data grid and some other functionality things for moving data around, and we'll be all done.